So let me share some learnings from a recent research paper that I have been going through in my area of work, which is Adverse Childhood Experiences and Trauma-Informed Care. And this paper has some very interesting research in the area of neuroscience and brain studies that I would like to share with you today. So this is especially for parents, educators, and those of you who are survivors of childhood trauma. What this paper says is that traumatic toxic stress, or TTS, which is a kind of chronic stress, has huge long-term and short-term implications on the physical and mental health of children as well as adults. The first impact it has is on the structure and the function of the neuroendocrine and immune systems. So the paper says that with people who are in a state of traumatic toxic stress, there is an overload of cortisol in their system, and this overload of cortisol in fact results in a suppressed immune system. So their immune system is compromised, and in the long term there is a lack of cortisol. So there is an imbalance in this cortisol levels in the long term and short term, resulting in certain implications on the physical body as well as certain organs of this person. Because of this excessive imbalances in the cortisol levels as well as the hpaaxis, which is the hypothalamus pituitary adrenal axis, these people are susceptible to a lot of autoimmune disorders like rheumatoid arthritis, lupus, fibromyalgia, and chronic fatigue syndrome. These are symptoms that are an outcome of chronic stress or traumatic childhoods. The second impact is that chronic stress really affects certain brain centers. And there are three of these parts of the brain that are affected. The first is the hippocampus, which is responsible for what it says is formation of new memories and learning. And it is this hippocampus, the development of the hippocampus, that is significantly suppressed because of the HPA imbalance. Hence, there is a compromised development of this part of the brain, which is responsible for learning and memory development. The second part of the brain that is affected is the amygdala, which is again responsible for impulsive behaviors, and this is overactivated. The amygdala incidentally is also the fear center. So this part of the brain is overactivated, resulting in a lot of hypervigilance amongst these children, inability to stay calm and balanced, and also sleep disorders. As adults, of course, an overactivated amygdala would mean that they have insomnia, anxiety, or panic attacks. The third part of the brain that gets affected is the prefrontal cortex, and this is a part of the brain, the front part of the brain, which is responsible for rational thinking, for concentration, focus, and also for controlling the impulsive behaviors coming from the amygdala. This prefrontal cortex is underactivated in case of excessive cortisol in the brain, and hence this leads to poor emotional regulation, poor impulse control, and a compromised ability to concentrate and focus. So remember that excessive trauma and excessive stress in childhood impacts the development of these three brain centers among children, resulting in long-term physical and psychological health issues amongst adults. Another part of the study also indicates or points out to a lot of research that has been done in the last 2 decades in the area of adverse childhood experiences. And this research indicates that a very high score, trauma score, in fact a lot of our clients are coming with very high ACE scores, which is adverse childhood experience scores. These are connected to high risk behaviors like substance abuse, tobacco, unintended and early pregnancy, sexually transmitted diseases, as well as obesity. In fact, obesity has been linked to a very high childhood trauma score. Also drug abuse and criminal behaviors. So all sort of high risk behaviors are linked and sourced back to high childhood trauma experiences. So the effect of childhood trauma has an impact on the mental and physical illness of the person as an adult. And it is said, research indicates that a trauma score above 4 automatically means that at least 20 years are reduced from the life of an adult because of these issues. In fact, childhood trauma is also a cause of several leading issues like death, early death amongst adults, heart diseases and stroke, liver disease, lung cancer, chronic obstructive pulmonary disease, autoimmune disorders, insomnia, frequent headaches, obesity, high blood pressure, and cholesterol. So if you can see practically, most of the chronic health issues, autoimmune disorders are directly linked to a very high adverse childhood experience score. So childhood trauma is a very, very important part of our healthcare system, of our prevention system of healthcare costs, and to maintain a healthy generation of people. And unfortunately in India, there is very little work done in the area of awareness or prevention of childhood trauma. So watch this space for more such information, more such details. And if you are parents of small children, please make sure that you do not contribute to a generation of traumatized children who are at a high risk of health issues as adults.